Good evening, Speed Gaming viewers, and welcome for some Link to the Past speedrunning after that nice, comfy golf session. I'm going to be having Fricker22RTA here running the All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches category, and I will be on commentary. My name is Greenham, and I will be also joined by Apathy Duck here.
Hello.
Duck recently, semi-recently, he probably created the most up-to-date tutorial and resource that we have available for this category right now, so he's going to be along for the ride and providing hopefully some valuable insight along the way as to what's going on in this run. If you're used to seeing a normal NMG run, this is going to be slightly different from that, in that we are allowed to do some slightly more major glitches, but we're not going to go so far as to be the floors or anything like that. So, but we will most definitely be clipping through walls and doing some other fun stuff along the way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some All Dungeons by Fricker here. And we're off by being asleep. Link's a very lazy boy, but he'll wake up sooner or later.
Escape is the most exciting part of any A Link to the Past run. Unfortunately, in all dungeons, we still have to go through escape like normal. There's no really fancy glitches to help speed it up or anything. So the next 6 minutes, hopefully, it'll look normal to anyone who's seen a run of this game before.
Yep, pretty standard opening here for this escape segment. It gives us a good chance to kind of preface some of the things that you'll be seeing along the way. As Duck said, this category does start out pretty much the same way as an NMG run, so we're going to finish escape here, and then we're going to make our way over to Eastern. One notable difference from the regular NMG categories, and this is true of all the glitch categories on the leaderboards, they do allow save and quit at any point, so we will be utilizing that as much as possible to minimize overworld travel along with some of the other glitches that we'll be exploiting along the way. Kozler, be careful. We're not even a minute and a half in, sir. let's settle down.
I do believe this is the first vanilla run of this game so far this marathon, where all the items are where God intended them to be. Their one true location.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that we got the chance to show off some of the original game here. Fricker dispatching with this first key guard here after a little bit of a duel, but no worries, on his way.
Fricker has been known to use some interesting strats that most people don't use in marathon runs to show off a little bit, so I'm looking forward to some of them.
Yeah, he's not afraid to take some risks, and there are a number of risks in this category. Since we are using some slightly more major glitches in this run, they are prone to breaking the game in very unintended ways at times, which does provide the potential for soft lock in the game at times, and that can lead to quite a bit of time loss, but hopefully we'll be avoiding all of that in this run. I'm not even going to attempt a Willem Dafoe voice at all. First mini boss fight of the run here, I guess. Nice 8/ coming out from Fricker there, 258 key grab, not bad start.
You cut off my Spider-Man impersonation.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Spider-Man! You
Excellent.
and me, Spider-Man!
Flawless.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that was a really good ball and chain, though. Definitely better than that impression.
Look, there's nothing going on in Escape. We gotta fill airtime here, man.
That's true. This is just dead air otherwise, right?
Yeah, we're gonna start reading the phone book soon.
But a little bit about Fricker. He's been running this game for not actually like relatively recently in comparison to a lot of the other runners who have times similar to him. He has a lot of really good times across several categories on the leaderboard. Has a very good NMG time. And for this particular leaderboard, he's in 13th place with a 1 hour 13-minute time, which is an excellent time for this category. He definitely has the potential to push it farther, though. So I would definitely put Fricker on PB Watch for any All Dungeons run that he fires up in the near future.
Yeah, I know he was minus 113 late in the run during practice, so we could see a PB here potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Another difference of this run is we do all of the dungeons similar to NMG, the No Major Glitches category, but we do them in a much different order since we can access some of those major glitches. It allows us to sequence break the game a little bit more, so that kind of opens up our routing, and we can kind of pick and choose which dungeons we go to and why a little bit more carefully. It kind of allows us to acquire some more powerful items early on, which is going to make dealing with some bosses that are usually quite a pain point much easier. So that's just one of the many reasons that makes this category appealing to run.
Yeah, we end up skipping a lot of the overworld just because we can go through walls, and we have the save quit available to us. Skips a lot of the overworld travel that would be done in NMG. So a lot of that is the time save that you'll be seeing. But like ideally, this saves a little over 10 minutes, somewhere around there, like 12 minutes, I would think, completely optimally, I would say.
Yeah, right now the world record time for this category is a 1:10:53, currently held by Josh RTA here in chat. So please add him. But yeah, and then the world record NMG time right now is sitting at a low 1:23, so about a difference of a little over 10 minutes there.
Yeah, and this category could be optimized a little bit more too, as well. So it's not nearly as optimized as the NMG run is, mostly because we keep finding new stuff like every day for this run.
That's true, yeah. And we'll be getting to see a little bit of that new stuff pretty early on in the run. But right now, like I said, we're going to make our way to Eastern. You saw the save and quit there to minimize the overworld travel. And then Fricker has two options here as to how he can approach the Eastern overworld. You can choose to do a clip that's going to put him directly into Eastern without having to actually traverse any of that overworld with all the Octoroks and the Armo statue and everything. Or he can try to do a clip on the right side here, which is kind of difficult, and you have to be pretty quick with it to actually even save any time with it. So going this route, absolutely no issues with that whatsoever. It's tried and true. He knows what he's doing here, so it'll be a little bit before we see any of our first major glitches, but I promise you they're coming.
And besides the save and quit and the citrus that we didn't do on this run, Eastern again is going to be mostly normal. You did see anyone who's used to NMG, Fricker skipped Snake Cart. He's not doing that here to save time. It's actually better to take it later before pod, because when you save and quit in this game, you don't start with full hearts, and the pod segment is pretty scary. So we actually delay it until then to make sure we're at full hearts going into that dungeon.
Yeah, we certainly get a lot more value out of the same card that way by doing that refill right before DM, so that's pretty useful. But like you said, Eastern here is going to be pretty similar. One thing that's pretty nice about this category as well is that we don't really have to worry about rupee drops at all, as opposed to NMG where you're trying to farm up to the 110 that you need for the Dark World access in the pod. But in this category, it's all static. We just grab all of our drops from the houses and the the Village of Outcasts, so really don't have to worry about that here, which is kind of nice. Yes, you did get the key, Fricker. Always good to check, though. Do get a little bit of speed tech here. Going to use some iframes to get past those anti-fairies in order to hit the switch underneath to trigger the chest to get the big key there. That was a pretty nice skip. You certainly could pick it up at the Sanctuary, but like we said, it's a little more useful later on because we're going to be going up Death Mountain pretty early on, so it's kind of nice to have the refill at that point, as opposed to here for Eastern, where normally you're not in too much danger of dying. Ooh, nice pattern here in ZGR, which is the Zelda Gamer Room. Waits for the arrow drop there, nice hesitation.
Those arrows are actually very important.
What are we getting here? I'm sorry to cut you off here, but this is not a normal strat that you see. This is a strat that was developed by Yuzu, and it's very difficult to execute, as you saw there. Not your normal top right or bottom left strat or anything like that, a little more swaggier. Like we said, these are the sort of things that Fricker likes to go for, and he executed it really, really well up until just those last two there, almost at it.
Yeah, it was really well done. But yeah, I was saying those arrow drops they're nice to have in NMG. They're almost required in all dungeons because we'll be needing a bunch in the next segment coming up. There's a couple backups you can get, but they're pretty slow.
So we're going to be grabbing the boots here from Saha, but we're also going to be looting this cave behind him to grab some bombs in there, which are going to be really useful for clipping here in a little bit. So our goal at this point is to actually access Death Mountain. But obviously we don't have the power gloves yet in order to be able to lift the rock to get up there. So this is where we're going to see our first instance of some out-of-bounds clipping. And this is where we're going to see Fricker grab that sync heart, so he gets the refill all the way up to 5 hearts, and he's going to be all set. So, Duck, if you want to talk about this new DMA clip, that'd be great.
Yeah, so if you've seen AD before, this is going to look a little different. This is a new clip that was, I believe, Yuzuhara found this one.
Yep.
So basically what we do is, yeah, we... Oh boy!
So it happens so fast.
And it happens really quick. So basically, what we used to do to teleport to change the screen, then we just go straight up Death Mountain. What we're doing now is you clip into a wall with the spin speed, and we'll be seeing that technique done a couple times. And then basically you wiggle your way up a screen, and it's just a memorized set of coordinates. And we actually just come up from above and jump down into the old man cave from above. But the camera's broken because we went off screen and the game didn't expect us to be there. We'll be seeing a lot of broken camera stuff in this run.
Yeah, it's going to look really funny because it's going to look like Link is running over things that he shouldn't be able to run over, but it's just because the screen is actually in a different position than where it's actually reporting at that time. So just think of Link as being at the top of the mountain sometimes as opposed to the bottom of the mountain.
Yeah,
we're going to see another instance of that here, yeah.
So, and I believe this one was Pinkus that found this setup. But this is kind of some, if there was, in the community, there was a short-lived fad of running Master Sword no EG, and a similar clip to this was used. If you've seen that run, you should be used to it. There are a lot of stuff coming up real quick here.
Yeah, these are a lot of rapid clips in a row here.
Yeah, and then we're moving on to Kiki clip right here, which basically all the bomb clips work by dashing into the bomb, and it basically just throws you into the wall, and then if you're on a very specific pixel in a wall, and it's either on the overworld or the underworld, if you immediately push diagonal into the wall, the game gets confused about where your coordinate is, and it basically goes, oh, I don't know where you're supposed to be, so I'm going to throw you like 10 pixels up or down, and we're basically abusing that fact to teleport into pod, and we actually enter pod in cave state. And when you're in cave state, you actually start with 255 keys. So we use that fact to open up one of the doors to make the routing in here a little bit better.
Yeah, it lets us skip a small key that we would normally have to pick up in the dark maze after we get the hammer, but this routing allows us to skip that. You may be wondering why the pots in here look like they're from the light world. Well, because the game still kind of thinks that we are in the light world since we came from there, but we are in a dark world dungeon. So that's why everything looks the way it is, which can have some adverse side effects, but hopefully we won't be seeing any of those, but they're good things to be aware of. But yeah, that was a lot of clipping that just happened right in a row there, but we're going to see a lot of examples throughout, so we'll try to explain those a little more in depth, hopefully once we see a few more of them.
But just a little bit more on the DMX, because it is new. Not only is it saves like 7 or 8 seconds, both those clips in total save about 7 or 8 seconds in total. The other thing it does is we used to have to, like, when we would teleport, and on a broken camera we had to deal with dead rocks, which was no fun, and you would take damage that way. So this segment was just a nightmare to get through, because we only had 5 hearts, plus you had to do the bomb clip for another heart of damage, and then we have to fight Helma now with 5 hearts and Master Sword at the end of this dungeon. So not only is it faster, it makes this segment a lot more consistent. It's really a godsend to this whole. This segment used to be very reset heavy, and it still is with Helma. The Helma fight is not easy.
Yeah,
but it takes away one of the major reset points.
Exactly. Yeah. And we saw Fricker have a very nice hammer jump, and it's funny because in NMG runs we normally spend a long time talking about the hammer jump, but here that's probably one of the least interesting things that actually just happened there. So, but yeah, he just bombed himself across the gap, clipped into a rail, got the hammer, no big deal. And now we're going to finish this dungeon out.
So in NMG, we pick up those hearts actually to get beams to make the back half of the dungeon a little bit faster with this switch and yeah, the switch. But in here, we don't actually have beams. We don't have Master Sword yet. We're still at Fighter Sword. So picking up the hearts here is purely a safety measure. But because Helma is so dangerous, pretty much everyone picks up. Even the world record picks up those hearts. It's pretty scary to. Just when you're grinding runs, you just don't want to have to keep resetting here, and it's only like a second or 2 loss. So it's kind of this route's version of Sank Heart, the swag boom.
That was very nice, yeah. And that's, normally in MG we'd have sword beams there since we have the Master Sword, but not in that case, so we have to do that diagonal back boom throw, which is just like 3 inputs at once.
But you're forgetting he doesn't have Master Sword.
Oh.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't carry a sword spin in there, but switching. That's one of the things switching categories in this game does is you sometimes forget and use the wrong strat in the wrong room.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and this is the Helma Sword fight, which, as Doc mentioned, is very scary since we only have 5 hearts at this point. Each hit from Helma Sword is going to do 2, so we can take 3 hits here. We're going to take this mask off after the 17th hit. Fricker's just going for it to... Oh, this is going to be beautiful.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, the spin doesn't kill him. Unlike the Master Sword, that was a very nice pattern he got. That is a marathon-friendly pattern.
Very much so, yeah. But I'm sure he is breathing a sigh of relief at that point. Almost every runner after they get past Helma in this category does that because it's pretty much one of the major gatekeepers of this run. From here on out, it's not completely smooth sailing. There are some risky spots, as I mentioned earlier, with potential soft blocks and whatnot, but since we have the hammer now, that's pretty huge, because what we're going to do next is we're going to go up to Hera, and we're going to fight Moldorm with the hammer, which is just a fantastic experience. If you've ever struggled in NMG fighting Moldorm, and he's knocked you down, you have to hit him a bunch of times, and he aggroes, and he goes really fast, just play this category. Use the hammer, man. It's so much fun. Yeah, that was like an 18.3x something sort up, which is really solid time for.
Yeah, that was. I'm checking his stream directly. That's a 7-second gold for Fricker on that pod, which is
very nice. Yeah,
which just
new
means
tech coming in hot.
Yeah, that is the save from the new tech basically. So, I mean, before that, getting a sub 8 pod was really good, just with the variance you had to deal with. So one minor difference you can see here.
What? You can do that?
That should just boom down. But normally you would see in NMG, you would see most players use the mirror. Some players still do the boomerang. It's actually better here because we don't come in with the mirror, because we never came up Spectre to Rock, to just use boom strats the entire time. So there's a slight difference here between NMG and all dungeons. But it's only the difference of a menu, so it's saving less than a second. It's not a very big deal. Oh.
Classic.
How did he not get hit there?
He was trying to be super optimal and dash out of the door as soon as it opened, but just a couple frames too early there and ended up bonking, but just over the tile.
Yeah, bonking, but I looked over the tile, so that's really good. We getting EBJ?
It seems like something he would go for, actually. Depends on how confident he's feeling. I'm sure he practiced it before the run. He probably made a determination whether or not it was feeling good. We'll see though. But we're making reference to the bomb jump that's going to be coming up here, which is essentially the same technique that we used in pod to use a bomb to blast us over the gap here. Looks like he is menuing early, so he's going to plant this bomb very early. He's going to throw it, and while it's in the air, he's going to menu so that he checks his position and then gets blasted across the gap. Very nice early bomb jump. Obviously, that saves you a bit of time because you're planting the bomb much earlier than you would, so it goes off earlier than it would, which, by my math, makes it faster.
And we go to hammer here because this is just an awesome feeling. Yeah, take that.
1, 2.
And he still goes left side. He goes left side, and it's still quick fight. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, that was well handled by Fricker. Nice fight. And that was Hera.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice aspect about a lot of these segments is that they do end up being quite short because we can clip around, save and quit, and use overpowered items.
Yeah, Hera becomes a very consistent split in this category. But the main reason we did pod before Hera is because it saves a good probably 9-10 seconds on that fight just from getting rid of 3 hits, and then we want to be going straight here to we're going to be going to Thieves Town, but we don't have Dark World access, so what we're going to be doing is this is called Death Mountain Descent because we're descending Death Mountain. Just bonk on the screen, and it turns out the screen below us is the overworld we want to be on. So we're down here in the Dark World proper.
Rather convenient.
Yeah, the game gives us the one... It's kind of supposed to be like a sneak preview warp up there, because all the other warps are locked behind items that we don't have. But we use the fact that the game just gives us that warp, and then the fact that we can walk through walls to go where we want. So now we're in Thieves Town.
Yep. Oh, that's bad RNG there. Unfortunately, I don't think there was anything Fricker could have done about that.
So we end up coming to this dungeon 1 heart less than we would normally have, or the same amount of hearts if you skip Sank Heart in a normal NMG run. And the other difference is we don't have the Master Sword, so nothing dies in here. So there's basically a couple... It's more or less the same strats, but you just have to be aware that nothing's going to die, and just have to avoid it, basically. There is one room that we're going to have to change our strats, because we don't have any gloves yet.
Mm-hmm. As Scrivo can attest to, that's for sure.
Little indecision in that room. Can you get through?
Oh,
No.
didn't get the RNG for the pixel. He got the pixel though, so he did everything correctly there. The game just didn't cooperate, unfortunately.
Yeah, it can be a real feels bad room that you execute it perfectly and the game just takes it away from you.
So we mentioned earlier about the pots in the dungeons being different, and you notice that they're not different here, and we did come from the Dark World. However, we're still in a state where we have not beaten the Gatekeeper in the normal game to the Dark World, which is Agnum 1. So if something were to happen in this dungeon and we were to die, the game would just assume that we are still in the Light World. And this is the room where we have a slight strat variation here to kill all these guys and go to the left since we can't lift that block. But if we were to die in this dungeon, the game would put us back into the Light World. And if we were to go and beat blind in that state, we would still get the crystal. But if we tried to leave the village and screen transition there, the game would just throw us back into the Light World, and we wouldn't be able to get the frog afterwards, which is our next goal after this dungeon, is to get the tempered sword.
Yeah, that that strat in the big block room is pretty cool with the bomb throw. I do want to say bombs in this route are very important. You can see we have 9 right here. We had 10 before that. Definitely, this is a character you really have to pay attention, mostly because of the bomb clips that were introduced that replaced some older sword clips that were pretty difficult to attempt, and it made this category a lot more accessible. This category is the most accessible it's ever been right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone who has a decent foundation with NMG, or even if you've played a bunch of rando, or just even if you've done like overworld glitches and stuff like that, you could absolutely easily jump into this type of run.
There is a variation you can do in the pod segment. You can actually go get silvers right away, and it makes a lot of the fights easier. It makes that Helma fight easy. It'll make Vitreous a lot easier, which are 2 of the scariest parts of the run. So even if you don't have a great time, you can pick up that safety, and because they save so much time over the course of the run, it actually is only like a 20-second time loss. It's not that big of a deal.
Pretty standard blind fight there, if you've ever watched any speedruns of this game. No issues in that segment for Fricker.
And speaking of standard, we have Skullwoods coming up, which is very much the same as NMG. The only difference is we're going to be getting the book, and we get to do the world's greatest dash in the segment.
Yes. So proud of that dash.
That's a ham invention, isn't it?
I guess. I mean, I don't know if I was actually the first to find it, but I was the first to post about it. I'm sure, I suppose.
You made the comparison. That's how you actually get the...
Right.
So just Fricker right now he's 27 seconds ahead of his PB, so this is a very solid run. He's had his biggest, the worst split so far was Eastern. It was only 5.1. That's really good. So he's cruising along right here.
Yeah, for sure. So we need the book here because we are going to need to grab a medallion a little bit later on. Oh, we didn't do the dash.
Yeah, he didn't do the setup.
It does exist though, I promise. It is possible to get 2 quick warps on that screen, which if you're not familiar with what a quick warp is, basically if we transition between worlds with the camera aligned in a certain position, we save about half a second. And there are some various setups that we use to achieve that.
So right now we're handing in the sword, and they're going to upgrade to the tempered sword. Normally this is done with the master sword, and they take your master sword and temper it into the tempered sword. But they don't actually care what sword you give them. So they're just going to give us a temper sword, even though we gave them this little toy fighter sword. A funny quirk of this game is if you give them no sword, they will give you a tempered sword. Which really makes me question what they're tempering.
How are they still in business, honestly?
Well, I mean, you did say, everyone says that, only $10 for the best item in the game, but, like, you did save the guy's life. Like, honestly, $10 is kind of a ripoff. Like,
yeah. Should be free, I mean.
yeah. Although, I mean, he was a frog and he couldn't hop down a ledge, so, you know.
That's embarrassing, yeah. He's got to live with that. Oh,
That
was the best fence dash I've ever seen in my entire life. That is one way to completely avoid the fence on that dash. I will give Fricker 100% credit for that.
Can we update the fence dash command to like that?
We have to update our own tutorial now.
Oh.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm sure Fricker's laughing about that too. Alright, but yeah, like Duck said, Skullwoods is very standard. We've pretty much gotten all the differences out of the way at this point, so everything you're going to be seeing from this point on is going to look a lot like no major glitches.
Yep. This definitely looks normal.
The old dashing instead of grabbing the statue, classic.
For anyone who's familiar with Super Metroid and the worst room in the game, we've been having our own little worst room in the game debate in the community lately, and that room is a strong contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever come to a consensus as a community, but we can definitely have a top 3. I think we can all agree on. Nice early bomb jump there as well from Fricker, placing the bomb down as early as possible.
That early bomb jump is actually harder than the Hera one, but it's just a lot less dangerous if you fail it, because you don't fall down 2 floors. Granted, we don't have a lot of health here. This segment is like if you did NMG without Sankart, but Fricker's used to not having Sankart in the beginning. There's a lot of strong contention for worst room in this game. As a deep and dark topic, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will happily give you their votes.
Yeah, the worst room in the game is whatever ruined your last run.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice. Got the party parrot fire snake. Just dance it out, homie. Good stuff. Oh, ooh. He avoided the hand though there, which was probably the most important thing about it.
So what he just did was not actually a strat. He missed and he recovered it very well. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's more impressive than if you did the room correctly.
I think 9 out of 10 runners would have died in that situation.
I would have eaten it.
I was going down there for sure. So the major glitches, as we are, very nice finish on the moth fight there. Had a poke dash and then a slash to finish him off with half a heart remaining. Yep, Josh RTA there has got the explanation as to which ones are not allowed. In general, the ones that are just far too powerful and would just make this category more trivial than would be considered, you know, fun for this this level of category for what it's supposed to be, which is supposed to be, you know, kind of just an introductory full game category of a major glitches rule set.
Yeah, that we as a community had a little debate because if people have seen the new Mist Sonic glitches, let us do some pretty powerful things, and there was a debate whether to let them in or not into this category, and it ended up just they basically only really broke in his tower, but there was some dissent as to whether we should do that in this category or not, because this category doesn't have like the legacy of NMG, but there is certain attachment people have to it at this point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so right now we just kind of have some errands to take care of. We did get the book earlier, so we are going to go ahead and take care of grabbing the Ether Medallion from the top of Death Mountain here, and we use that clip there to just wrap to the top of Death Mountain and get into Hera easily. And so now we can just grab Ether here. And then our next goal is going to be grabbing the flippers for King Zora. And luckily we have a very, very easy route over there.
Yeah, we have to do a lot of stuff just to get into Meyer in this category. The only reason we get the book is for Ether, and the only reason we get Ether is for Meyer. So.
Alright, so you're going to see another instance of a spin dash clip here. He's going to get himself into that glitch state, which if you just hold diagonal against any of those sloped ledges, you'll just clip right through them like that. And that's how we get into, conveniently, Zora's domain, which is right below there on the map.
Yeah, that clip, just if you know how to spin speed, you can do that clip. It's just holding diagonal to a corner. If you want to start playing around with some of this stuff, just exploring where you can go, that's a great place to start. And we get a new look in Zora's domain.
This is a seasonal palette for Thanksgiving, I guess.
This is like only a 3 out of 10 in how bad the graphics can get in this game, so.
Yeah.
We have something called Plaid World, so, you know, this is...
This is mild in comparison, for sure. Alright, so now that we got all that stuff, we now need to get over into the desert/mire area. And this is actually the quickest way to get over there and do that.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing the bomb clip here. Yeah, we are. So this is a... really all this is saving us is, you see that wall on the left side that goes all the way down? That's really long, and as speedrunners, we're lazy, so we just clip right through the wall to get over it. It only saves about 2 seconds, and those bombers can give you trouble. So this is...
And now we see... Sorry.
Similar to the Kiki clip, the teleport I was saying before, where the game gets confused, just warps us. Basically, if you hit dash and a direction at the same time, you'll clip into the wall, and we know what pixel you want to end up on. There's a little difference between going left and going right, because going left moves you 2 pixels at a time, and going right moves you 1 pixel at a time. So it's actually, in my opinion, harder to go left because you'll overshoot where you need to be. But Fricker did a very good job on that clip. That's a place you can actually lose a bunch of time, and he's doing really well in this segment.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lot of these segments are just a series of overworld clips in a row, and executing those back to back is actually quite difficult. Just going one into the other. You may think, oh, we're just skipping around the overworld, it's easy peasy, but there's actually quite a bit that goes into actually being able to do these glitches consistently and quickly.
Yep. Blaine, one of our runners, actually described this category as there being a hammer jump in every segment, which isn't really hard when you know how to do it, but like it can go spectacularly wrong very easily. And there's one every segment, so it's really hard to put together a full run of this when you start putting up good times like Fricker has.
That's a good way to put it, for sure. So one really nice thing there is that we do have the magic mirror already, so we were able to just grab the big key from desert and then mirror, which just put us back into the back half of desert here. And we already have the fire rod, which we acquired from Skull Woods, which is one of the reasons it's routed in so early. It's going to make this Lanmo fight much easier than normal, than just using standard bow and arrow. And we also have the tempered sword.
Now you said hammer was good for Moldorm. Is hammer for Moldorm better, or is fire rod and tempered sword better for Lanmo?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Man, they're so equally frustrating, but in very different ways. So it's
Lanmo doesn't destroy your run in one spectacular moment. He slowly whittles your soul down. Moldorm just smacks you in the face.
Yeah. So hopefully we're going to see a 1 cycle here. Oh, it's so pretty to watch. Good stuff. I love to see it. Worms going down quickly. And this is really one of my favorite aspects about this category and sequences of this category is the fact that we are coming out of desert here, and we have conveniently placed this warp just to the left here, which is going to take us directly into the Mire area, which is the next dungeon that we're going to go into. And Mire is quite the adventure of glitches, so there's going to be quite a bit happening in this segment.
Yeah, just to answer some stuff in chat, since glitches in this game are so powerful, a lot of the glitch categories will have a goal like all dungeons or all bosses, because if we just allowed you to go to the end of the game, like you can go straight there. The rule set for 80% for this glitch set takes it's like 25 minutes right now, I think. So that's why a lot of the goals we have for the major glitch categories involve doing all the dungeons or all the bosses or something like that to give us more of a run.
Ooh, almost got the fast Mire today. He just barely missed that Wizard. I'm not sure if one of the Popos tanked a shot or something, but yeah, our routing through Mire here is going to be quite different from what you normally see. First thing is we're going to grab two keys, two small keys in this room here, because we're not actually going to traverse back through it, so we need these.
No, Fricker. Fricker.
All right, well, we hit him up in his chat, so maybe he'll recognize it.
He's just at torch. Yeah, okay. Hopefully.
Well, this is going to be an issue if he. Okay, so let's set this up here. So what he needs to do now is he's going to loop around essentially, and his goal here is to get the big key at this point, because getting us the big key here is going to also give us the big key of any dungeon that we clip into from here. So we're going to just kind of make this big loop around where Fricker's going to come back into this room, and then he's going to actually clip below this room that we're in right now, which is going to send him into a room with a warp, which takes you to the top of Hera. And then we're going to do another clip within Hera, which is going to send us into Swamp Palace. And since we already have the big key from here, that is going to let us open the big chest of Swamp and get the hookshot out of there, which is going to be really handy for the rest of the run. Hopefully, though, Fricker realizes that he needs to grab a small key. Otherwise, he's going to be very sad when he gets into Swamp, because there is a locked door in the room that he clips into. So
yeah, and
he's not going to be able to get out.
Well,
so
we're going to find out what happens.
When he does realize that, I think what he's going to do is mirror out and probably grab the small key, and then we're just going to do this loop again. So
yeah, probably.
The issue is that he's probably going to be a little short on bombs, since we're going to be using a few for these clips here, which are really cool, and we're probably going to get to see him twice, so that's neat.
Yeah. Well, if he thinks about bombs, he can get a slug, probably another slug, because the second slug's going to be 4 bombs.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. And maybe he'll grab one here in this middle pot. Yeah, nice. Alright,
yeah,
so bomb clip time.
Yeah. So we get this bomb clip is really annoying. That clip, that rail right to the top left of us, basically prevents us from doing anything cool. Like we could actually, the citrus codes we talked about, we could citrus through that wall if that rail wasn't there. Instead, we have to do a bomb setup that's just really annoying to do. You actually have to like slash up twice. The bomb can put you on 2 different pixels, and you have to fix it. Fricker did a and here we go. He realized he doesn't have the key.
Yep. But I'm pretty sure he knows what to do at this point, and he realized his mistake, so...
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because he was on a very good run up to this point.
Yeah.
We are going to get Mire 2-3, though, which is...
almost practically unseen. This is a rare species that we're getting to witness right now, in the wild. This game is busted, but in a really amazing way, to where it still functions incredibly well when you do ridiculous stuff to it. And
yeah, everyone always says this game is like broken and not programmed. Like, this game, imagine doing this to a modern game, it would just cry under the weight of.
Yeah.
You know, program has stopped functioning. Sorry, goodbye. This thing, if you watch some of the all glitches allowed version of this category, we do awful things to this game. It just keeps on chugging.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if he farms this bomb slug here. Yeah, he does. Only gets a 1 drop though, but that's still better than 0.
And like, it's almost like serendipity. The whole reason we can steal a key here is because Meyer was designed to be kind of a maze, and there's a bunch of false endings and wrong paths that you can go to, so it gives you way more keys that you need. So we just take one of those keys for a different dungeon.
Yeah.
You know, we know where the... Like, we're not going to open the door for the rupees in the bottom of Meyer.
I have to say though, Fricker is actually nailing all of these bomb flips though. I mean, we have pretty good setups for the majority of them. Like Duck said, this one is kind of finicky due to some weird sub-pixel stuff going on, but Fricker is really just nailing the majority of these flips here. Yeah, there's one of the weird things that can happen.
And this is why we actually used, you see he was doing a dash setup on the pod. That puts us on the pixel we want to be for the setup. But if you fail it once, that pod is no longer there. Obviously, so it makes resetting up really hard. Missing that clip by itself can just be a run ender by itself. So it's always a nervous moment when you're on a good pace and you get to that clip.
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, no double cutscene there for the water lever, which is a small miracle, I guess. But we're going to grab the hook shot here out of Swamp and then mirror out, and then we get to do this all over again.
Quote unquote second time.
Right, yeah. We're officially back on track. Everything is fine. We're all fine here. We are short, maybe a few bombs, but there are definitely a few spots where we can farm it out a little bit.
Now, I'm not sure if Fricker's going to do it, but coming up later in the dungeon, I'm sure most people have heard of the spooky action glitch, and probably the setup everyone knows involves manipulating where the duck goes off with the flute, but we don't have a flute, so we can't do that. So there's actually a setup in here where you void a block, and there's a little bit of a different setup. You can do a fire rod dash to still get it in the second room. And since we mirror to the beginning of the dungeon, we only need to do it in the second room because the first blocks are already in the position we want them to be. So it'd be cool if we can see it. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's correct, Mark, that if you... the game remembers which dungeon you last entered naturally, which in this case is Meyer, so whenever you mirror, that's where it sends you back to.
Oh, we are getting it. Alright, cool. So that voting of that block out actually sets the same variable that the duck would set originally. It sets it to a different value than what we use in NMG for the duck, so we have to do some different things. Did he? I don't know if he dashed there.
It looked like he picked up dust.
Okay, I could have just frames.
Pretty sure I saw it.
So
yeah, we don't need to hit this.
Yeah, this first one. And then this is the different setup we have. Got it. Nice. And unfortunately, that value doesn't work where we can do it on this third room, so we have to do it normally. There's a very funky setup in that second room again, but it's bad.
Shoutouts to Blunt Money. Fricker running into Starbeam there, but takes some damage and then just walks up the stairs. So we got the Viddy fight now. He is on 5 hearts. You really only need 4.5, and he should be fairly comfortable with this fight. Unfortunately, the eyeballs sometimes just do whatever they want. I really hope that he remembers to exit and mirror. He did not.
No. So, Ham brought it up in during the Thieves Town segment. We're right now in the fake Dark World. The problem with Meyer is there is a conflict between Meyer and, I believe, was it Desert Palace, I think?
I never can remember the pairing.
I know Eastern is Ice Palace because that's a thing in Vanilla Combo. But what's going to happen is the crystal's not going to drop, and it's going to be, unfortunately, going to be a hard lock. So we're trying to remind him to mirror.
I sent him messages on every channel.
I know he said he
didn't
have Discord.
I wonder if he'll see
try
the
Discord.
pods. I did. I DM'd him on Discord. Well, he realizes that he's out of magic, but that's not the thing he needs to realize. I'm hoping that he sees the pots and realizes what's
I
going
never
on.
never noticed the pots.
Yeah.
Every time someone points
Fair
them out to
enough.
a pod, I'm like, oh yeah.
You know, he's resetting up Spooky though, so we'll get another crack at that.
You're gonna get several cracks at it. This run does have, because we are doing things at the game that intended. This is honestly not the most marathon safe run that's out there. There are a couple backups that you can do, but if you forget something like this, it's yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally empathize with him here. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's
Fricker puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I know that he really wanted to perform, and it's just something like there's so many things that are going on during this run, and you already have 1,000 things to think about, and this is just one more weird condition that you have to worry about that usually isn't an issue.
yeah. The problem is, like, if you're doing like PB attempts, if you die to Vidi, you just reset. Like, you don't care about fake dark world. It's really only comes up in marathon situations, so it's really an easy thing to forget about.
Was he in SpeedGaming chat this whole time? Yeah, well, clearly he's realized it now. And the other issue is that he can't pause to mirror.
Yeah, this is a hard lock, unfortunately. Well, I guess it's a soft lock, right? Because you can still move. But there's no way out of this. You can't get a mirror. You live here.
Yeah, and I don't know where would his last save be?
Before desert.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a chunk, but it's definitely not rip run or anything like that. He's still still doing his best. He's still trying to put on a good show in front of a bunch of people. So I say that we all cheer him on as much as possible and show him some love and support in the chat.
Yeah, this is definitely the type of thing. This is what that you get worried about when you're running a marathon. So.
Yeah, this has happened to pretty much every single runner that has attempted this game. Does he think that he's not in the right state or something? Okay, he's just going to load the practice hack, which it's really nice now that we have. I mean, first of all, the practice hack for this game is absolutely incredible. It was originally created by Pro Little Pinkus, and now it's maintained by Can, another member of the community who does a lot of tassing and glitch hunting for us, and he's done some really awesome work on the practice hack as well. And then Josh RTA, the current world record holder of the category, actually went through and made presets for us so that we have access to it. So now we're basically just back into the spot where we beat Vidi. Nothing happened out of the ordinary at all. Fricker got the crystal. Dead. And we are now on our way for the rest of this run. You guys get to enjoy the lovely new fonts for the timers that have been put in. It looks like Fricker is using the FF6 font, I believe. Very nice choice.
Although I do want to yell at Josh for making the preset for Helma 3 hearts. The guy's a madman.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to...
immediately abandoned that strat, and he started picking
just trying to push it on everyone else.
I
mean, he just wants to maintain his world record.
That's the way you got to practice, though, right? Practice with the weights on your back.
No, it's absolutely a good way to practice. That's why I think a lot of people do it with fireballs always on when they practice on it.
But so basically, when we exit Mire, we did another one of those teleports. That's actually a difficult teleport because you have to beat the Zora that is shooting at you. After that, we come over to Swamp Palace, and I'm going to bring up the R word, but for all those random players out here, this is the best go mode you're ever going to get in Swamp. You don't even have to push the levers. You just go straight to the back, and you're done. It goes from the worst dungeon to the best dungeon.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I said it earlier too, so you don't have to be that upset.
Yeah, but you said it to chastise someone. I brought it up on purpose.
No, not at all. I actually said that, you know, if you come from a rando background, if you play a lot of rando or overworld glitch mode or anything like that, you can definitely jump into this category.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
But yeah, we just get to skip the entire west side of Swamp here, which is just a true blessing.
Yeah, so it ends up being normal, quote unquote. It's just as if you had done the first half of it already, and it ends up being a very quick dungeon. Again, becomes somehow there's still stuff in here that messes with you. These guys are still gonna hit you. This room could put another potential worst room in the game just because these guys just jerk you around so much.
I'd put it up in the top 5. Yeah, I don't know about top 3, but top 5 for sure. But I imagine we are going to see Fricker attempt the quick kill on this boss coming up here. He's going to attempt to kill Argus and all of his puffs before Argus does its first hurricane attack cycle where it spins out all the puffs at you. You can do that by attempting a hook dash, and one of the nice things about playing on the practice hack is that we get to see the input display of what Fricker's actually doing. So I think this actually helps everyone kind of appreciate the run even a little bit more, just because you can see you know, all the various inputs that Fricker actually has to do to get this done. Nice fight, pretty clean. Didn't get the 0 cycle, but got the RNG where Argus was kind of rushing him, so it's really tough to get it on that one.
And there is a fire rod strat that people do on the second phase. Fricker wasn't abandoning that because he didn't want to go for it. Because at this point, safe strats are out the window. We're going to see all the cool stuff.
Oh yeah, he can do whatever he wants at this point. So,
but we actually want to stay on the hook shot for this category because we're going to need it next. There's going to be another Ice Palace is another dungeon where it's just things just happen very quickly. It's just like glitch after glitch after glitch, and we just show up right in Argus or Cold Stare. One of the eyeball guys.
Easy to get confused. There's only like 17 of them in this.
Eyeball guy 3, the cold one. This is going to be our first. This is going to be our first mirror wrap coming up. Basically, if you mirror the same frame that you transition, the game doesn't like that, and we can basically abuse that to go to other places the game never intended us to go to. So to do that, we're going to just use the hook shot. We're going to do another corner clip, get onto a correct pixel, transition the screen to set up the mirror wrap, and then we're going to come back to the other screen, and then you're going to see some stuff.
Yep. And there's that mirror transition that Duck was talking about, and then we're going to get into the right spot for this. We've got about an 11 pixel window there that we can transition on. Those are good pixels to transition on where the game won't soft lock, but if you transition outside of that, the game most definitely will. Another nice feature about the practice hack is that we can see the coordinates here. So Fricker knows that he's on a good spot here to do this bomb clip, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, maybe something went wrong with the subpixels there, that's what we'll say.
Yeah, I stopped doing the strat because it seemed to be subpixel related.
Yeah.
There's actually like 3 different versions of bomb clips you can do in that room. It's kind of nuts that we have so many setups.
Yeah, and bomb clips really, I mean, they've been around for a while now, and we talk about them like they're almost nothing, but they really changed the face of this category quite a bit, because normally we would have to do some very complicated one-frame inputs, and those are very difficult, but these bomb clips are pretty easy. If you can lay a bomb in a correct spot and dash into it, you're fine. Fricker trying to adjust to the pixel for the Ice Palace bomb jump there. Unfortunately, didn't quite sword buffer in time. There, he's got it now.
Yeah, so the rest of this dungeon is normal, but it comes at you very fast when you're playing this category. Every room is pretty difficult in this segment. There is no downtime, but you start, you go through it, and then you're done. Ideally, this segment takes like 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super short, but there's so much packed into it.
Yeah, when you start with, like, you're practicing for this category, I would just practice this whole segment, because it's like, oh, I gotta practice this, and then I should practice it. I was like, oh, then I'm done. And I cold stare.
Yeah. believe, if I recall correctly, Fricker is a double poker when it comes to cold stare.
Fricker is the double poker.
I'm pretty sure that's the only strat he's ever done on cold stare.
Yeah, I've talked to him about it. He's like, I've never even done anything else.
He just started out doing the strat, which is one of the hardest ways to. I would say it is the hardest way to kill this boss. But we'll see if he can pull off these poke dashes and double spin in the corner here. After we melt the ice, got the spin, first poke dash, second poke dash, double spin, and we're good. Perfect.
He makes it look so easy. I'm jealous.
Yeah, same. Single poke for life, and I always said 6 slash for life, and I never thought I would convert to poke strats at all, but
Same.
they are quite good.
So we did a lot of collection early on in the game. Then the end game of this moves really fast. Like I said, you get like once you finish that mire segment's pretty big. Swamp is real quick. Ice Palace is real quick. We're going to Turtle Rock real quick. Too. It's gonna be a quick segment. We do have to grab the ice rod first, and there's somewhat of a newer way to get. You can just get the ice rod like normal by running around, but there is a way we can get it with a broken camera. There's actually a bunch of ways we can glitch into it. We can get it with a teleport. So I think Fricker's going to be doing the bomb clip here. I know we talked about it earlier this week, so I hope he goes for it.
Yeah, I saw him practicing it quite a bit. So, and the fact that he can, just kind of give himself more bombs if he really wants to. But I think he'll go for it here just to, show off the trick. And
yeah, there's a couple glitches in this that are major route changers, like the Kiki clip and the pod and stuff. And there's a couple that are just like saved 2 or 3 seconds, and this is one. It's only like a 2-second save.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a glitch category, you gotta do them.
What they're there for, man. Alright, so that's the ice rod cave there that he just kind of held the bomb in front of and then let it explode, and that blew open the cave to the ice rod. And he's just able to grab that and save and quit out.
So to get in Turtle Rock, we're going to. It's basically a combination of stuff we've seen before. He's going to clip into Hera again, because that skips all the Death Mountain stuff. We're going to go into the warp. We're going to do a teleport. And then we're basically going to wiggle up a mountain, and then we're going to do another mirror wrap.
Whoops.
Yeah. That's definitely something that happens. A lot of these clips, the game lands you on... you can't see where you are. And the game will land you on a building or something. I think you're landing on Hera there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to hold a button to get out of it. So if you're holding the wrong button, you can just kind of get stuck.
Yeah, they're very specific inputs that need to be held as your first input after a clip like that. So
yeah, and on a PB, it's a just very minor thing. It can take a significant chunk out of your time, kill a run potentially.
Parry drop. So right now we are attempting to break into Turtle Rock. We do not have Quake, so we're not going to enter through conventional means here. We're going to do another mirror wrap here, which we saw getting into Ice Palace. And then this actually puts you at the ledge above, and then you just jump down to the one below, and then walk into the cave that's right there. And this puts you at the backside of T-Rock here, where all the lasers are in this small key that we need.
That's the only optimization I've ever found for this game.
Yep, that's that safer setup there with the mirror wrap and just being able to hold right and just walk over there and then just quick hop off that ledge is much safer and just easier input wise than what we were doing before. We did a lot of we had to walk all the way down to the bottom of that area and then do the mirror wrap down there, and it was very finicky as to where the actual range you could do it. So this new setup that Duck found really just makes that you don't have to think about it as you're doing it, and just makes it free, which is great for a category like this. And so now, since we came in the back way, we have to basically just do T-Rock backwards.
And T-Rock backwards is so much more polite than forwards. We're going to be coming in pokies too here, and normally you have to spin and kill these guys. And, you hear people talk you have to memorize 16 patterns. We have to memorize one pattern in there, and Fricker got the one pattern that was bad, unfortunately.
He did, yeah.
But we menu in there to read the RNG, and if the only poke you got to look at is the top right one. If he's moving up and right. You have to move around them. Otherwise, you can just literally hold up left throughout the entire room and you're done.
Yeah, the room is just infinitely better than it
Yeah,
is
pretty much
in MG.
all the stuff people complain about in Turtle Rock, Chomps, Pokies 2, the roller room. We skip all of that.
Mhm.
The one downside is the pegs are not in the position we want to be in this room coming up here, so we have to use different strats. Or you can
Yeah,
just
I figured
slash
it's gonna-
glitch
yeah.
and use the same strat.
Totally valid.
Yeah. There are minor optimizations you can make in that room, but it's a perfectly cromulent thing to do.
Excellent word choice there.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
It's in the dictionary, man.
Woo! That was really close to Trinex's toe there. Almost dashed right into him, but pretty standard Trinex fight here. One thing you won't see Fricker do, though, most likely, is preemptively change to the hook shot, which normally we would do in NMG because we want to do a hook dash afterwards, but we can't actually get out that way since we haven't opened Turtle Rock yet. So we're just going to save and quit out of here, which means he doesn't need the menu afterwards, which is just another thing you don't have to do.
And the most broken item in any Zelda game is the Cane of Samaria. We're not seeing what the Cane of Samaria can do because we disallowed all that because it's way too powerful.
So next stop after this is Ganon's Tower, and it's going to be actually fairly standard apart from the way that we actually get into there. And,
we actually have the crystals, we could just open it, but there's a cutscene and it's slow and we have to start at the bottom of the mountain, so we're just gonna break in.
sounds like a much better plan. You don't have to contend with Lionels or anything like that.
Yeah, it's like leaving a key under your mat and then just using a rock to open the door. But you can actually do what we're doing here to get into Ganon's Tower at any time. So really the only reason we do Ganon's Tower now is just because this is the most convenient time to do it. It potentially, if you could do it earlier if you really wanted to, but...
Yep. We're gonna talk to the old man that we rescued earlier here, get her a quick refill as we go into Ganon's Tower. Definitely a good idea. That's one thing about this category is that when we save and quit, we don't get that refill. So it is nice though that most of the time we do start at that cave and we can just grab a refill at a cost of a few seconds there for a little more safety within G Tower itself. So now we're wrapping the screen a bunch, and now we're going to do a hook dash. It's going to allow us to clip into this ledge, and then we're now on the Ganon Tower stairs. We just walk up them, and we're here.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Look like the Ganon Tower entrance to me.
I saw no visible difference.
So, Fricker grabbed that first key there. It's actually a little better to grab that key in all dungeons, because we don't need the magic refill at the top of this dungeon, which is, most people you'll see get the key in that chest there. Because we're going to be skipping the magic because we don't need it, because we're going to get a magic refill before Ganon, because we still have a dungeon to do after this. Most players will grab that key right there.
Yeah, and even though, like I said, there's not much difference in Ganon's Tower. Ganon's Tower is still a really, really fun watch because it's just kind of, the culmination of the entire run. Most of the time, this would be the very last dungeon that you're doing, and it kind of throws everything at you, and you have to kind of employ every technique and item that you've acquired along the way. It's not quite the last dungeon here, but it's still fun to watch executed very well, which Fricker is doing right now.
Yeah, you always have to remind yourself there's another dungeon left after this. There have been times runs have died because people have dropped right into the Ganon hole instead of
It's been done for sure. Doesn't have a bomb here. Is gonna need. Hopefully, he knows there's one on the left, or maybe he'll just grab the one on the right. Ah, cool. Good stuff. Oh, nice. That any fairy stopped in just the right spot. Alright, first Light World boss refight here. Nice Armos. Not quite the Yuzu strat. Still going to be going for a quick kill. Unfortunately, gets bopped in the transition, going from up to left there, which is usually the spot at which it's going to happen. But he actually cleaned the fight up really well. That fight can get really, really hairy if you get a red Armos, but yeah, he actually handled that really well.
I don't think his arc variable was even going to be messed up, so.
Nah, I think he's fine. Oh, we can see room times. I haven't even been like paying attention.
Oh man, yeah.
We'll call out the really spicy ones.
Yeah, whenever they happen. 305. Oof.
All right, coming up to the gauntlet here. It's got 9 hearts, so feeling 8. Wait, he still has 9 hearts? Hello? Did he not get hit?
I think it's 8 and a fraction, I think.
Okay.
I actually have no idea how to read the...
I thought it used to display that. I thought it was like the last number was out of 8 or something.
I don't know. He's got 86 hearts?
This is looking like a... Oh, man, I just gotta stop. Just wait until he's through the room. I've done that so many times now, yeah. That was pretty good read there, though. Alright.
So this fight is even more underwhelming in all dungeons, because we already killed Lammo with the fire rod earlier.
Yeah.
And this shooter is just... And I always felt like the designers got really lazy in that room. Like, they tried to spice up all the bosses, and that one's like, just throw a shooter in there, whatever.
At
like,
the same time, though, that is one of the most frustrating enemies in the game, I think, like, during that fight.
It's frustrating for us as speedrunners. Like, when you're playing casually, you're just like, oh, alright, I guess there's a shooter here. Like, cool, I guess.
Alright, boss, I changed it. We good?
Yeah, like Armos and Ice, that was a nice bit of creativity. Mold Armor's just like, it's a different room.
Ooh, was that a torch dash?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's true, Josh. I think, yeah, Mold Arm 2 is probably less of a challenge than Mold Arm 1. That doesn't mean it's free or anything, by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely gives you more room to work with, so. But I think we're going to see Fricker potentially completely bypassing the Mold Arm fight, and
also, I hope he picks up the magic. He used more than... we actually are going to be using the fire rod coming from Aga Tower. If you don't miss any of those 4 torch shots, then you can skip the magic. But since he unfortunately missed a couple shots, he still needs to grab it.
Oh, he's going halfway.
Oh, baby!
No!
Whoa!
He even had the sword buffer before, like before he started doing the hover. Thought he had it. I mean, he can definitely go for it again if he wants. Oh, come on, Mold Arm. Wow. I mean, maybe he's just going for the bounce at this point.
Yeah, he just didn't get the sword slash out.
Yeah, even with all those shenanigans that happened earlier on and switching to the new ROM version here, I think we are well on track to meet the estimate here.
Yeah, Aga will be right around the estimate. Aga's 4 minutes and then 2 minutes for Ganon, so we're right on estimate.
So I think that's a pretty impressive feat to come back from all of that madness and still have a really nice Ganon's Tower overall there.
It was almost a really friendly pattern.
Almost. Oh. Blue balls yet, at least. Being really friendly there.
So we do get Aga 2 here. There is actually a chance to get Aga 1 in this category. If you die in Ganon's Tower, and again, don't fix Fake Dark World, the game goes, okay, you're in a room with an Aga, and you're in Light World, so here's Aga 1.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did your run die from dying in GT, but then you get the RNG of Aga 1. It's a pretty bad feel when it happens. But you do get to be Paladin Link in Aga's Tower, which is pretty cool.
That, and you also have a shot at the highly coveted 30 blue balls.
Oh, I've never seen that. Okay.
The bonk over, yeah. I think he just doesn't like skirting around the Ganon hole and going for that quick warp, so he just bonks over.
Okay.
But yeah, Fire Rod strats. Talk about those, because I don't know much about them.
So, yeah, there's the reason you use Fire Rod here mostly is because we want to end up on Fire Rod for Ganon, and we don't have to switch it all in here. You can pretty much either use Fire Rod, Boomerang, or Hookshot as your item in this dungeon, and there's like pros and cons to all of them. The Fire Rod allows us to kill things a little bit faster, but again, the main time saves, it saves us the menus. The downside is, anyone who's familiar with Circle of Pots at the end, we don't have a way of grabbing that key, really, so there's a couple of cool ways of getting it. It depends on what the RNG is. But all the strats are within like a second of each other, so like when people are playing this category, you know, we just went through Ganon's Tower and that big gauntlet. This is like the last segment anyone bothers to optimize. You just kind of get through it with whatever equipment you have. But the Fire Rod strats are really cool, I think. Allows us to do some cool stuff. They're basically only used in like 2 rooms, that first room, and we're going to be using it here.
Yeah, dealing with those 2 guards otherwise.
Oh no, he wanted the
pretty
magic.
painful. Oh yeah, that would have been nice, huh?
Yeah, you actually want to grab in that. He did fill up a magic in Ganon's Tower. Let's see if he. Ooh. Yes. Yeah, that's the
nicely executed. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a nice shot. You just slash that guy, and you just, as the key's popping up, you grab it from the top. It's a good feel to get that one. But those spear guards, I don't know what those spears are made of, but they can somehow shoot your fireball out of the air and cause it to despawn, which I refer to as Dragon Ball Z-ing, by the way. I think I'm the only person who calls it that. Now the other cool, if you do the hook shot in this, just let you know, you have to get hook shot speed off the stairs,
obligated.
Or your time will not be accepted.
Yes, absolutely. 100% a required strat. It's in the rules of the category. Please.
The hook shot strat for the Circle Pot's cool too, because you actually hook shot the key as it's popping up.
Right, so now we got Aga 1, which is the coin flip master.
Yeah, so everyone knows about Aga 1 and the blue ball RNG. In this category, he's at the very end, so you've gotten through most of this run with no RNG. It's just all been you playing, whether you're playing good or not. And then you would just basically come to the end of the run and you roll the dice to see if you get a PB or not. So some people prefer it because you don't get the pressure of like, oh, I got 0 blue balls and I got to play good now. But as someone who's gotten 6 blue balls at the end of a lot of PB runs, I don't know if I prefer it.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. There are certainly pros and cons to it.
And it's not even, it's Aga warps directly into Ganon warps. Or Aga blue balls directly into Ganon warps. Like, I've had a couple 7 blue ball PBs. You know, you like, it feels bad. You're like, ah, man, I'm a minute ahead. And then you're no longer a minute ahead.
Alright, I think I've seen at least 3 so far. Yeah, it was 3. Okay. 3 blue balls, average stock. And now we get to fight again.
The nice thing is because we defeat, normally when you defeat Aga 2 I guess is mean and doesn't give you a health or magic refill, but Aga 1 does. So we always come in again in this category with full hearts and magic, which is really great until you stop playing this category and then you can't beat Ganon anymore.
Yeah, you
But
kind of
who
miss it
would
after
that
that.
happen to?
No, I can't think of a single runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ganon is pretty comfy in this category.
Yeah, the only downside is you don't have the hook shot, which you wouldn't have in NMG either if you do hover. It's one of the benefits of hovering off the menu. But because of that, there's a couple different, like, a lot of people use the hook shot to avoid the bats. So we can't do that, obviously, so we need to use a couple other strats. But if you get hit by a bat, I mean, you're at 14 hearts. Like, as long as you don't hug the pig, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think even tanking a hit, if it's going to get you closer to him or like allow you to sneak in a hit or something like that.
I actually get really
is
annoyed having
valid as
beams
well.
on phase 4, so I've been known to run into
Just
Ganon
potentially
on
hit it.
phase 3 just to get rid of him.
Nice.
I don't want.
So,
I don't
yeah,
want.
very
this.
nice opening. Very clean 1-1 start there. Fricker, and now we count the warps.
2. To 3 now. Pretty good warps.
Yep. Going for the extra spin there.
And
Oh no, he missed it. I mean, it is his move. It is his
Yeah,
signature move.
this is just him
I don't-
signing the painting at the bottom.
Exactly, yeah. This is how you know this is authentic Fricker. That fire back. Got a little close. Yeah, he's experienced this so many times, so I think he knows how to handle it from here. But he's very close to the end here in finishing off Ganon. Hopefully he doesn't get any strange patterns. It'd be kind of hairy when you can't actually see Ganon and where he's warping in the dark, and then you go to light a torch and suddenly he's standing on top of your head. But it looks like he's just taking this nice and steady. Nothing fancy. Just finishing her down here. Dropping the LOL in chat. Because he knows. He knows what he did. Alright, we should be closing in on the last spin here, and that is it. GG to Fricker. Please drop all of your GGs and grats and nice runs in chat for our boy Fricker here. He did a great job bouncing back from those struggles in kind of the middle part of the game. And these are the things that we kind of warned you about before this run even started, is that, with these major glitches, there are some inherent risks, and we encountered some of those risks today, so let this be a cautionary tale to you all. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Big shout outs to Fricker for putting it on, and Doc, thank you so much for joining me on commentary. Looks like Fricker is declined to interview with us, but please continue showing him love in chat. Appreciate all of you watching. Thanks so much to SpeedGaming and Feasel and everyone working hard behind the scenes to put this on. And thanks for having us. We always love putting on a show for y'all. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great night, y'all.